All right, so you've got your M4 iPad Pro, and you're looking at getting some accessories for it. You're looking into the fabulous Magic Keyboard for it, the great Apple Pencil Pro, and you're about ready to have this fantastic and perfect setup for your iPad Pro. And then you realize how expensive these accessories are. So you start to turn to some budget alternatives. So this video, we're going to dedicate some time to these other budget alternative options, specifically from Penoval with the stylus, and all the other accessories are from EIP. And they are sponsoring this video, but don't worry, I get to say what I want about these products and give you guys my honest thoughts. And I've had these products now for about a week and been testing them and trying them in different scenarios to give you guys some real thoughts on how these are to use on a day-to-day basis. So starting off this video, we're going to look at the Magnetix Keyboard Case from EIP. Really interesting keyboard case, a lot like the Combo Touch, but with its own tricks and differences. Then we're going to be looking at the Penoval Stylus. And this is a really good alternative to the Apple Pencil, the USB-C version especially, but even the Apple Pencil Pro in a lot of ways. And we're going to take a deep look at this and some of the software tricks that it has up its sleeve. Then we're going to look at the slim travel bag from EIP as well. And it's a really great travel bag for anyone looking for this kind of bag, whether or not you're wanting these other accessories. And lastly, we're going to take a look at the screen protector that is a reusable screen protector meant for drawing. To show you guys the proper case for the M4 iPad Pro from EIP. And honestly, this is a great option for around 60 bucks. There's not really any case that does these features as well for this price. First of all, the build of this case, it feels really premium. I have no complaints on it. The fabric here feels very high quality. The magnets snap and feel good. The hinge feels great. The sides feel really protective and sturdy. I would be very confident dropping my iPad a little bit with this case on. Not that I recommend you do that, but it feels really solid here. And as you can see, they try to make this keyboard section as thin as possible with still having a battery in it. So yeah, this USB-C port here will be for charging the actual battery of the keyboard. And then here's the on-off switch as well. Really easy to flick on and off. So no problems there. A great wide cutout for the USB-C port. I have learned to appreciate that very much, especially with external SSDs and stuff. Some of those cables are pretty chunky and all the cutouts look perfect. These buttons feel great. The power button's kind of like one of those floating buttons that just really let you feel the actual button underneath. And the volume switches feel really good for being like extended buttons up there. I have no complaints with that. They just do a really good job making this case look really professional and sleek, considering the budget they're working with and the full keyboard functionality. So basically, you're going to go from the corner, that's the easiest spot because there's a little flap here, and move this hinge down. This is about as far down as it goes. So this is as straight up and down as you can get it, but that is almost exactly straight up and down, so that's really all you need. Obviously, the closer you get it to being closed, the worse it might be, but even about here is pretty rock solid. So yeah, that is great flexibility for angles. Definitely a step up from the Magic Keyboard. I don't think it's better than the Combo Touch, but it's basically on par with that. Although while we're on the stand, there is something that this one can do that the Combo Touch can't do, and that's have a portrait mode stand. So you use this flap here. I kind of put this stand at a slight angle here, and then let this flap kick out as like a kickstand part, and then you just rest it against it, and now you have portrait mode. And I have already used this a few times, and it is quite enjoyable to do that. And yeah, as you can see, it's really easy to take the keyboard on and off. It's just a magnetic flap in the back, but it holds well. You have to really want to take it off for it to come off, but then you just give it a slight angle and it works great. So let's give a little typing test and see how this works, see how it sounds and everything like that. I will let you know though right away, if you're looking for top-notch trackpad functionality, look again, because this isn't going to be the one for you. The gesture support is great. I mean, it can support all those same things that any of the trackpads can do, all the different multitasking gestures and things like that. But the actual clicking is like really only in these bottom two corners. And it works, but even in the middle here, you can kind of get a click. And up here, you got to really want it. It's definitely a diving board trackpad, and not even the best diving board trackpad I've seen. Something you can do to make your trackpad experience even better is by going into settings, general, trackpad, and turning on tap to click. This basically makes it so you don't actually have to click down on the trackpad, and it is way more usable that way. So instead of trying to click the bottom corner, I just tap it and it opens the app. I tap the home screen and it goes home. There's some other downside with tap to click, but you basically gotta find your balance with it. It works. So that's pretty much the downside of this case. Everything else is really good. Very solid. The typing experience, I have no issues with how this feels and sounds, and the spacing is okay. It's probably not quite as properly spaced out as the Magic Keyboard. It does a really good job of making all the regular keys feel very full-sized while shrinking some of the outside ones, but this is pretty much full-size. But I got really used to it, and before you know it, you'll be typing like a pro. And I am not the world's fastest typer by any means, but this is very sufficient for me. They have volume controls, app switcher, software keyboard, brightness settings, screenshots, home button, and then they have some dedicated good notes and notability functionality built into this keyboard as well, which I don't know how often I'd use the keyboard with the note-taking apps as well, but if you do that, this might be the case for you. So as you can see in like good notes here, I can use these keyboard shortcuts to actually switch between the different tools. So pen tool, there you go. Wow, my handwriting is not it today. Eraser, because I need to get rid of that. Yeah, let's get out of there. And then the highlighter tool. Boom. So yeah, I just think that kind of integration, and this works with notability as well, that kind of integration is really neat. And with this keyboard case, it definitely has some drawing angles, that's for sure. And everything was very stable during the drawing as well. You also kind of have some other keyboard shortcuts hidden throughout the keys here. You kind of have to look for some of their secondary functions. The function here gives you the battery indicator. Function shift lets you change the brightness of the keys. So you can even turn them off to just save more battery and let this keyboard just last you even longer, which I might be doing that. Or at least kind of keep it on a low setting, because honestly, you don't need them that lit up to know where the keys are. Function enter lets you change the color. And I personally like this more whiter or neutral color. That's just my personal preference. And function C is how you get into pairing mode. So you're definitely going to want to know that if you get this to pair it to your device. And what's really interesting is function spacebar disables the trackpad. So if you're working and just typing and the trackpad is just not it for you and you're just getting annoyed by it, you can just disable it. And honestly, this might be the way to use this keyboard case, because the trackpad isn't the best, and then just disabling it so it doesn't get in your way and using your fingers to come up here and do some of the functions there, and then just typing away on the keyboard and then just coming up here and putting it where you want. That is a much more fluid system and a great way to use this case. There is one other thing I want to show with this keyboard case before we move on here, and that is because it's completely Bluetooth, you don't have to have it connected to the iPad in order to use it. You can use it, I mean, not really far away, but it's Bluetooth, so you can have this iPad set up here maybe, and then you're down here working, and you're probably going to want to enable the trackpad for that. But this is using the keyboard farther away. The new Microsoft Surface can do this too, so it's a very similar functionality. And hey, it is great to have options. I actually did this the other night where I was using it in portrait mode and answering some emails and just using the trackpad and giving my responses, and it worked great. Again, the trackpad, not phenomenal, but it does work and it can do what you need to do. You just gotta work with it a little bit. Next, here is the Penoval Stylus for the iPad Pro here, or any iPad really. So first, as you can see, it does magnetically attach. Now this is not something that is super strong. It does not stay on phenomenally. My guess is it's because it's trying to be very universal, so they work on older iPads as well, and the magnets are a little different from the M4 to the older ones. That's why they actually recommend with the M4 iPad Pro that you use a case that has a pencil slot, like their own keyboard case, which I pointed out earlier in the video. Overall, design-wise, this is very similar to the Apple Pencil. Obviously, it has a cutout right here for the USB-C port. That is how it charges. No magnetic charging or anything like that with this one. I think of it as kind of like an alternative to Apple's USB-C Apple Pencil, as it's still like a fourth or less of the price than that one. But yeah, let's look at it compared to the Apple Pencil Pro. Same exact shape, same exact size here. It literally just says Penoval instead of Apple Pencil Pro. That's about it, and then you have that cutout. The weight is a little bit lighter on the Penoval than the Apple Pencil Pro. I'm assuming they just use a little bit more premium materials, and it has like the haptics in it and all that kind of really fancy stuff. So there is that with the Apple Pencil here, but this isn't lacking too many features. So if you look at through the WellNote app, you can actually customize this pen a lot more here. As you can see on the tail end, we have a screenshot, we have double click for home, we have triple click for the app switcher, and all that works really well. You can adjust your posture so it kind of adapts the palm rejection in that way as best as it can. You can check for firmware updates. Something to always keep in mind when using a third-party Apple Pencil is you cannot have it paired and the official Apple Pencil at the same time. Now, if you're buying a budget version, that's not usually a problem you run into because you don't have the official one, but something I've ran into, so just keep that in mind. This is the WellNotes app as well here. You can do some note taking here. Then for the actual pencil, we can do a double tap and a triple tap. So let's go into our note here again, and double tap switches to eraser. Works just as good as on the Apple Pencil, honestly. There we go again. Great eraser tool, great switching there. And then triple tap gets us to the highlighter, or whatever you want to set that as. The only downside with that particular shortcut is it doesn't actually switch back and forth. It's just a quick way to get to the highlighter, but you could also do current tool and last tool. So let's say I'm on the highlighter now, I triple tap, I go back to the pen. This is the pen, double tap for eraser, triple tap for highlighter, triple tap back to the pen. That is pretty nice. I kind of wish Apple enabled a triple tap function on their Apple Pencil as well. So that's really neat. But as you see, we're doing the software settings for the WellNote app. However, we can switch this to, let's say, GoodNotes. And there are many other options here. So the Notability for the old version, Procreate, Painter, Noteful, and the Notability, the new version. So we're gonna go with GoodNotes though, and double tap is going to be eraser, and triple tap is gonna be highlighter. This one doesn't have the particular switch back and forth between tools functionality, but it's at least quick ways to get to these tools. So now let's try that in GoodNotes. Here we are in GoodNotes. This is the Penoval pen test, And double tap goes right to the eraser, just like you'd expect. See, unfortunately, it doesn't go back to the other one, but a triple tap does give you the highlighter. So yeah, really cool, quick functions between these tools. And you could easily make one the pen and one the eraser if you want to go kind of back and forth between them. You just can't quite have as much back and forth motion as the WellNotes app itself, but this integration is really helpful and it makes it feel like you're not losing out on any features with going with the Penoval Stylus versus the Apple Pencil. Even in an app that's not really officially supported like Apple Notes, this does still write in it. And I don't notice anything worse about this. You're not gonna get pressure sensitivity though, which is just to be expected. Not even Apple's USB-C Apple Pencil has pressure sensitivity, so that's fine. It does have tilt though, so if you look at the crayon here, and then if I tilt it to the side, it goes wider and thicker. So yeah, it does have tilt sensitivity for some of those artists or different kinds of pen tools you might want to use with this. Compared to the Apple Pencil Pro, this has way more features and it's a little bit nicer of a build quality. All that is true. But for a fraction of the price, this does a lot of the same things. And especially if you're mostly just taking notes, you're not gonna really care. This is gonna do just fine. As far as the battery life, it does have 10 hours of use. When you put it away, it goes to sleep in like a minute. So it detects that you're not using it and it will go to sleep by itself. You don't have to worry about turning it on and off. And it should be able to tell when you pull it off the magnets here that you are waking it up and it should be all ready to go. So basically just like Apple's USB-C pencil again. So for a much cheaper price, I don't see why you wouldn't do that. It also has a double tapping shortcut. Apple's USB-C pencil doesn't even do that in any app. So hard to recommend the official one in my opinion. Next, we need something to hold these accessories. And this is something that I will be using way more long-term because I'm not really gonna be switching to these budget accessories for long-term for me, because again, I have the other options, but this is something that anyone can use whether you have the budget accessories or not. So this is another product from EIP here. It's just a travel case for an 11-inch size tablet, and I love that. So you can pack up your brand new decked out iPad Pro here, slap it down, flip it up here, and has a nice retractable handle, and it's ready to go. And it's even more protected, especially if you're prone to dropping things. This is nice. This is also water resistant. I'm not gonna go splashing it to test that theory because this iPad is expensive. So I'm gonna just trust their claims here. I mean, you could tell even with this zipper here that it is watertight. It's not like they recommend you going and submerging it in water, but if you spill something on here, it should keep your contents safe. It has a top zipper here, which I stored an SSD in. And if we take a nicer look on the inside, you can see all the different compartments it has here. So it has a zipper with some mesh pouches that you can access there. Another deeper pouch, and all this is padded and protected. This is a nice protected sleeve here as well. So if you were feeling a little riskier and rocking the iPad naked, well, this will keep it much safer and not let too much rub against it. Pretty much covers every little spot there. And you could take your Penoval Stylus or Apple Pencil and slot it in right there. It has its own dedicated area. So yeah, if you like rocking your iPad like that, or just a small smart folio cover, you can do all that as well. You can fit a mouse in here, you can fit a small keyboard, all that kind of stuff, and have a mobile workstation for your iPad Pro all right here. And I like that, especially as one who did use my iPad Pro as my only computer for 8 months. This would have been awesome to have then. You can watch my video as to why I don't do that now, but that was something I did for a while, and people can do that, and it is a lot of fun. So I will totally be using this during those moments where I'm just taking my iPad somewhere. Fun fact, it will also work with other 11-inch sized tablets like this Penstar eNote here, and you can even stack a few in there if you have some and travel around with all that. And last but certainly not least is the screen protector they sent me. It Sorry, it got a little dirty here. I've definitely been using it in this last week. But this is a reusable screen protector. It's not magnetic. It's just an adhesive on the border here of the screen protector that is a reusable adhesive. So I'm gonna put that to the test a little bit. I've had this on for a while here, and we're gonna put it back on the iPad. You guys will see that a little bit here. And I'm gonna keep you guys posted. How reusable is a reusable screen protector? Does it get worn out after a certain amount of time? All that I'll try to answer when I can figure that out. But for now, every time I've taken it off, it's gone back on, no problem. So I'm just gonna clean it off here a little bit. The nice thing about this being removable is you don't have to get it perfect the first time, because if you mess up a little bit, hey, you should be able to take it off and try again. So yeah, that wasn't perfect, but it gets the idea across. And let me wipe that down one last time so you guys can see that a little bit better. And yeah, here it is with the matte screen protector on. This is a paper-like screen protector that's meant for drawing. And if you noticed there, it was a little wonky at a couple points, but you can go into your stylus settings here and actually customize the gain of the stylus tip here. So now that we have a screen protector on, sometimes the signal is slightly interrupted, or it can just be a little different because of the difference in thickness and distance to the screen itself. So most styluses don't have a way to help with that at all, but this one does. So let's see how the process works. If you can't write lightly, you need to increase the gain. Problem with normal write breaks, you need to reduce the gain. So it seems like increasing the gain for me has made this writing feel a little bit more natural. So yeah, just play around with this setting. You can always reset it if you think you made it worse. But yeah, if you ever feel like the screen protector is interfering with the stylus tip at all, this can fix that. So even if I go out to another app, it should still be feeling pretty good, which it does. And this screen protector, it feels good for a Paperfeel screen protector. I don't think it feels any better or worse than like the paper-like one or ESR's version. I think they're all pretty on par with each other, and it makes a little less of a tapping sound when you're hitting the screen, as with the glass. It goes onto the glass screen very well. They even advertise that you can put this screen protector on top of a tempered glass screen protector for your iPad if you're wanting the protection of tempered glass but the feel of a matte screen protector. So hey, that's cool. I'm not gonna do that. I made a whole video on why I don't put screen protectors on my Nano texture iPad. So if you're interested in why, check that video out. But if you did not get the Nano texture option because you're like, man, that's expensive, and you don't want to go up to a terabyte of storage and all that stuff, which is very fair, this is a nice option to have, and it does reduce some of the glare too, versus just a glass screen protector and stuff like that. And it works really well with the stylus. These are a great pair together. So what are my ultimate thoughts on these products? They are great value. They are not going to be the top of the line. They are not going to be the products that beat everything else in quality and features. They're not going to do that. But what they are going to do is they are going to save you a lot of money. And if that is important, which it is important, then these are going to matter to you, and you might want to check them out. At least try them, order them on Amazon, see what you think of them. I have them all linked in the description down below. But yeah, I'm impressed with the value here. I don't plan on keeping these as my personal accessories over the Magic Keyboard Apple Pencil, but we all knew that that was going to happen. Of course, I'm going back to the more expensive ones because they are better, but they're also way more expensive. So if you don't want to spend your money on that, which to be honest, I get you right now. Like, I can't spend my money on hardly anything right now. If you're like that and you just want to get some simple accessories that at least do the job, these are it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and comment down below. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to get some Graf-X Tech merch to support the channel as well, that's all going to be linked in the description down below. I also made a product for the Supernote Manta. If you have that device, check it out. And if you like the setup I have in this video, all the equipment I use will also be linked in the description down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.